Now we have to get to my game of the week. We have the Kansas City Chiefs, who defeated the Cleveland Browns last week 33-29, going on the road to take on the Baltimore Ravens, who lost to the Las Vegas Raiders on Monday Night Football 33-27. The Chiefs are going into this game as a 3.5-point favorite. This game is going to be played on Sunday Night Football, 8:20 p.m. Eastern Time kickoff on NBC. Now, Kansas City has gotten the best of Baltimore, Lamar Jackson, in their last two matchups, especially last year. The Chiefs played Lamar Jackson really well. He was 15-28 for 97 pass yards, 1 touchdown, 83 rushing yards, and 1 carry. Now, everybody's going to make this all about Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson. That's not what's going to decide this game. What's going to decide this game is going to be the matchup on the sidelines. And this is why you should subscribe to the channel if you're listening to this on YouTube, because you're not going to find this analysis anywhere else, because nobody else is going to be talking about this. I put money nobody else is going to be talking about this. The matchup that's going to decide who wins and loses this game is going to be between defensive coordinator of Kansas City, Steve Spagnuolo, versus offensive coordinator for Baltimore, Greg Roman. Now, Steve Spagnuolo, has gotten the best of Greg Roman and the Ravens offense in their last couple of appearances. And the reason for that is because he is able to exploit the biggest weakness that a lot of Ravens fans have when it comes to the Greg Roman offense. And the reason why a lot of Ravens fans want Greg Roman gone is because Greg Roman is really good when it comes to getting the most out of the run game, but he's not really good when it comes to getting the most out of the passing game, which has been the biggest concern that Ravens fans have about Baltimore going into this year. On top of that, you don't have Rashad Bateman, who was your first overall selection this past year's NFL draft. So you really still don't know what you have when it comes to your wide receivers. So Steve Spagnuolo, what he does is he finds a way to bottle up this Baltimore Ravens rushing attack, including Lamar Jackson, and he forces Baltimore to have to beat Kansas City through the air. And on top of that, you also got to take into account that the offensive line for Baltimore isn't as good this year as what it has been in the past. On top of that, you look at Charlie Villanueva. He was awful last week. Max Crosby got the best of him. And I've been telling a lot of people this. This is coming from a Steelers fan. I've been telling people, listen, Villanueva is really good when it comes to run blocking, but in pass protection, he switched cheese, and that's what we saw last week. So Kansas City plays Lamar really good. Really good. Now, they don't shut down Lamar because Lamar Jackson is still going to get his. People have to understand that. But when it comes to the big plays and extending drives that we saw Lamar do last week on Monday night against the Las Vegas Raiders, the Kansas City Chiefs kind of neutralized those plays. So you probably get 6-7 plays a game when Lamar Jackson's running around, he's extending drives, he's, picking up 20, 15 yards with the legs. Against Kansas City, you probably only see 2 or 3 of those plays, which is really good when it comes to defending Lamar Jackson. So for the Ravens, this matchup is really going to be decided by if Greg Roman can, out-coach Steve Spagnuolo, because Steve Spagnuolo has gotten the most out of his defense every time they get matched up against Greg Roman. They have a really good game plan, and it keeps working. And I don't really expect Steve Spagnuolo to really change up anything. He's probably going to try to do the similar things that he did last year when Baltimore played. Then the question is going to be, is Greg Roman going to be able to call the plays necessary to be able to get the most out of his offense and be able to out-coach Steve Spagnuolo? That is a really big matchup that a lot of people are not going to talk about, but I think this matchup between the defensive coordinator and the offensive coordinator is going to be the ultimatum in determining who's going to end up winning this game. And also, the Kansas City Chiefs also are really good against the Ravens defense. Andy Reid puts on a coaching clinic against this Baltimore Ravens defense. And Baltimore, although they do have some injuries, Marcus Peters went down for the season. You also don't really know if Jimmy Smith is going to be able to go, but the Ravens do have a lot of depth at corner. And I don't really feel like Baltimore's secondary played bad last week. I know when you look at the stats, you're going to say, well, JT, Derek Carr had a really good performance, in which he did, but at the same time, Darren Waller took up a big chunk of that. I feel like the cornerbacks played really well against the Raiders wide receivers, but at the same time, the Kansas City Chiefs are a different animal, okay? And one thing that Baltimore really struggles with when it comes to playing Kansas City is being able to limit the big explosive plays that Kansas City has in the passing game. If you're going to beat Kansas City, you can't allow them to get behind you, and that's something that Baltimore kind of struggles with when it comes to Kansas City, and that's because Baltimore is a team that is really physical, and when you have this physical style, it can either play really well against Kansas City or it can cost you. So when you look at Kansas City, they have a lot of success in getting big chunk plays against Baltimore. So if you're Baltimore, what's going to be the strategy from defensive coordinator Martindale? Okay, what is he going to do? What is he going to do differently? Okay, I don't really know if the Baltimore Ravens pass rush is going to be able to get a lot of pressure on Patrick Mahomes. To be real with you, when you look at how improved this off the line is this year compared to last year, and I say this every single time I talk about Kansas City, I find it funny how it only took Kansas City one game in the Super Bowl for them to go ahead and assemble the offensive line of the Avengers, essentially. They essentially have the Avengers of the off the line, including Orlando Brown, which I don't know why the Raiders would trade him to Kansas City, knowing that you're going to be playing Kansas City this year. But hey, you got to get what you can get in compensation for him. Not knocking the trade there, but I'm just saying, this offensive line for Kansas City looks like it can handle itself against the defensive line of Baltimore. So for Baltimore, here's what you have to do to be able to beat Kansas City. First of all, you're going to have to get something out of your passing attack, and it's not going to be Lamar Jackson, because I don't question Lamar Jackson's ability as a passer. What I'm questioning is going to be the play calling. Is the play calling going to be there to get the most out of these wide receivers? Is the play calling for Greg Roman going to be able to put these wide receivers in a situation to succeed? And are these wide receivers going to be able to create separation? So we're going to need big games out of Marquise Brown. We're going to need a big game out of Sammy Watkins, which Sammy Watkins had a really good game last week against the Las Vegas Raiders. And I think that Sammy Watkins is a key X factor for this Ravens offense going into this game, okay? Because I told everybody, I said that I feel like Sammy Watkins may be the most underrated free agency signing from the free agency period. And the reason for that is because the Ravens have a really young group of wide receivers. You have two rookies in Tylen Wallace and Rashad Bateman. You also have Marquise Brown, who's still, he's a little bit of a vet, but he's still on the younger side of things. You have Sammy Watkins, somebody who's been around the block. He's been in the NFL for a very long time, and I really feel like they're going to need him to step up and not only be that veteran presence for this wide receivers, but they're also going to need him to step up and be that true number one option in this game, because as we know, I've said it several times, I'm going to say it again, Marquise Brown is not a number one wide receiver. Marquise Brown is a Robin, not a Batman. He's really good when you have another complementary piece on the opposite side of him, and they need Sammy Watkins to be that. They need Sammy Watkins to be that go-to guy. They need him to get open consistently, because if he can get open consistently, then that helps out the offense entirely. Now, you still do have to worry about, the tight ends that Baltimore possesses, Mark Andrews and stuff like that. He's also going to be really big also. But overall, another thing that they're going to have to be able to do is, Baltimore still has to play this game. They're still going to have to be able to play and do what they do best, okay? Because, one thing that Spagnuolo does really well is that he forces the Baltimore Ravens off their game plan. The Ravens, every time they play Kansas City, they have to win this game unconventionally. Baltimore doesn't want to win games having to throw the football 30 plus times to beat you, or 30 to 40 times. They want to win this game being able to run the ball down your throat. They want to be able to control time possession. They want to be able to be the more physical team. And the last couple of times these two teams have matched up, Kansas City has been the more physically dominating team. So for Baltimore, you're going to have to get physical up front. You can't let Kansas City continue to push you around like they have done in their previous couple of matchups. So the biggest thing is going to be limiting the big plays in the passing game, being physical up front, and still finding ways to still play your style of football. Because yeah, you're still going to have to be able to make some key passes to win this game, but you cannot allow Kansas City to throw you off your game plan and throw you off what you do best, because at the end of the day, Baltimore still is known for being a running power football team. And I do feel like they need to give Taysom Williams more carries. He didn't really have that many carries last week, but he did have 65 rushing yards and 7.2 yards per carry and 1 touchdown. And when they were talking about Taysom Williams, they said that they asked Greg Roman about him, and Greg Roman likes him a lot. So show us that you like him a lot. Give him more carries. So I really think that is really important that Baltimore finds ways to be effective, not only throwing the football, but still find a way to play their style of football, because Steve Spagnuolo normally gets the best of Greg Roman. And on top of that, the offensive line is still really concerning to me when you look at Baltimore. So I'm going to take Kansas City to win this game. I don't really know if Baltimore is going to be able to do enough in the passing game, because we know what Steve Spagnuolo is going to do. He's going to force Baltimore to have to beat them through the air. And I'm not saying this because I don't trust Lamar Jackson. I simply don't think that Greg Roman is going to be able to get the job done. I don't trust Greg Roman. So I'm taking the Chiefs to win this game. 34-20 is my final score prediction in this game. I think Baltimore is going to put up some points, but I think that we could see Baltimore's offense struggle once again. I don't really know if Greg Roman is going to be able to get this passing game going. And I know a lot of Rams fans can be like, oh yeah, we're going to get the passing game going, but you also got to understand something. You're asking Greg Roman to do something that isn't really, in his characteristics. He's not known for being a passing game coordinator. He's not known for getting the most out of the pass game. He's known for running the football, and I don't know if Baltimore is going to be able to do it against Kansas City, and I don't know if they're going to be able to have the success necessary through the air to be able to win this game. And a lot of people are going to be like, we're playing at home, it's going to be sold out and things like that. Teams who played at home in week 1 last week had losing records. As a matter of fact, the away team was better than the home team, just to point that out there.